Creepypastas were once the biggest thing in the Pokemon community. However, nowadays, they're not really prevalent. Hey, this is Gatorex, and happy Halloween. Today I'll be going over a few popular Pokemon creepypastas and sort of ranking them, giving my opinion of them. I considered doing dramatic readings or something, or maybe a live stream like that would be a good idea later on, but these are not long, but they're just going to take time to read through. So I've already taken the time to read through them, and so let's go ahead and discuss a few of them. First of all is the popular Lavender Town creepypastas. Now, Lavender Town is a real creepy area in the Pokemon games, mostly because it includes a cemetery with a bunch of dead Pokemon and ghosts. Ooh, spooky, But the point is, there are some prevalent rumors that have been around for a while. Now, creepypastas typically aren't very popular nowadays, and there aren't a whole lot of new ones being made, mostly because they were kind of during the early days of modern popular internet, if that makes sense. Typically like around 2010 or so, or a little before 2010, 2009-ish. These are mostly creepy stories that are posted online, rumors, fake things, and not that people believe them necessarily, but they were a fun, creepy read. Nowadays, people are so much more skeptical for good reason because of the internet. Now, with Lavender Town, some of the big things that were talked about back then were Lavender Town Syndrome and the existence of White Hand and Buried Alive. Lavender Town Syndrome is a supposed phenomenon that happened back with the original release of the Pokemon game, specifically Pokemon Green in Japan. It's stated that the song, the Lavender Town theme, caused issues in Japanese children, primarily headaches and eventual suicides in a Pokemon game. Because of a Pokemon game? No. Obviously, this was fake and made up, and it has a little bit of believability for the reason that the Lavender Town theme is definitely different from what we got in the original Japanese version. However, did it cause anybody to actually do anything? No, that would have been national news. That would have given even bigger reason for video games to be vilified. Pokemon would be dead as a franchise. Haha, get it? Spooky. Dead. There are just no facts about it. There's nothing online that states any of this was real. There's a bunch of rumors, and by now people don't believe it, obviously, but it was interesting. Now, that, if I were to give it a rating, it's like a 4 out of 10. It's creepy, it's for a good read, but then once you realize, like, hey, wait a second, there's no evidence or anything for this, it falls apart. The real good kind of rumors are stuff that, like, you can't really disprove, and something like that, when it comes to deaths, those are counted and numbers, so yeah. Next is the existence of White Hand, Buried Alive. Now, supposedly, these are some extra creepy things that were supposed to be in the game, in the original Red and Blue games. And supposedly, Buried Alive is some creepy zombie thing that you can battle, and you lose to it, and your game is just unplayable after that. You get a game over in Pokemon, which isn't something that exists in Pokemon. There's also these creepy sprites, which I'll admit, the game over screen does creep me out still to this day. When I saw it originally, when I was younger, it freaked me out, even though I knew it wasn't real. But it just looks unsettling. The original Pokemon games as a whole were very different because, they were very, very pixel-based. And for whatever reason, more pixel-based stuff looks creepier than, like, realistic stuff because there's more room for interpretation, right? The original Pokemon games, still to this day, feel a little weird to me, especially Lavender Town. I think that's the only reason Lavender Town as a whole was creepy, because there was no color, the music was limited due to the hardware, and, well, yeah, that's basically it. Nowadays in Lavender Town, we've seen modern updates of Lavender Town with the music and the visuals, and it doesn't look creepy at all. Still inside Pokemon Tower, it looks a little weird, especially with all the fog and all the ghosts wandering around. But the actual Lavender Town itself isn't creepy. Like, the music with Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee is even pleasant to a degree. So there's a lot to do with that. And that is why the original pixel graphics are a little different, a little weird, and that lends to these sprites looking extra creepy, white hand and buried alive. Obviously, there's no basis to these. Anybody can make pixel art online, and that's sort of the advantage to pixel art as well, and to creepypastas like this. You can easily just make up a little pixel sprite and say, hey, this was supposed to be in the game. Obviously, that's untrue. For that one, I'd give it a little more, 5 out of 10, give or take. 5, 6 out of 10. It's creepy, it's spooky. It can be disproved, but not as easily as like a very quick Google search like Lavender Town Syndrome. That's basically all for Lavender Town. Another interesting one is Hypnose Lullaby. Now this one specifically is more of a story based on some facts that have been in Pokemon games. Hypno is a Pokemon that has been known to do weird things to people. Obviously, within the Pokedex, there are Pokedex entries stating, yeah, it straight up hypnotizes people and kidnaps them and this and that. There's a weird fascination in the Pokedex entries with certain Pokemon kidnapping children or doing weird things to children. It's odd. And to add to that, in Fire Red and Leaf Green, there was an extra side quest, would you call that? An extra additional thing to do in the post-game where you track down a Hypno that's causing some trouble in a town on one of the islands. Now, Hypnose Lullaby does have an additional ROM hack that was made later on to go along with the story. There is also a song, which is creepy. These are some of the lyrics here. I'm not going to sing it. I'm not going to play anybody singing it. It's, if you want to listen to that, you can go ahead and do that on your own time. You can also play through the ROM hack if you'd like. It's decent from what I've seen. Now this one does take influence from things that have existed in the game, but kind of expands and builds upon it. It is more so leaning into the fiction portion. It doesn't necessarily try to convince you that anything is real, and so it's more of a fun story. And for that, I think it goes a little higher. This is actually kind of one of my favorite ones because Hypno actually is one of my favorite Pokemon. Well, not favorite, but I really do like Hypno more than your average person. I just think it looks cool. Now on to the worst genre of creepypasta. And yes, I'm saying a lot by saying that this is the worst genre, but yeah, it is. It's the genre where it's a story made up by someone, obviously made up, but told from someone as if it were true, where they find some sort of cartridge, and the cartridge plays out some weird game. First of these is Pokemon Black version. Yeah, this was posted before Pokemon Black was an actual thing. In this story, a person finds a black cartridge that has no identification on what it is aside from the fact it's a Pokemon game. Upon playing it, it's just like the original Pokemon games, Red and Blue, except one of the starter Pokemon he can choose is the Ghost Sprite. Ooh, obviously, he chooses the Ghost Sprite. And going throughout the game, the Ghost Sprite only has one attack, Curse, which instead of doing what it should normally do, kills the other Pokemon. Oh man, oh, so spooky. So the player goes throughout the entire game, killing every Pokemon until at the end, he's confronted and the ghost Pokemon battles him and kills him. Ooh, spooky, haha. Now, these stories, again, are ones that are trying to convince you of something, but also have no way for you to prove that they're lying. Because the premise of the story is that they find a single existent version of a game that for whatever reason is different. They say in the story that, oh, I was convinced that this is some sort of a ROM hack or something, or that some hacker traded into GameStop or sold me this online or whatever. And yeah, maybe, you see, nowadays though, with stories like these becoming popular, people are going to be able to imitate this and, maybe do something like this. I mean, for games like this, there are existent ROM hacks, similar to with Hypnose Lullaby. However, this one specifically, the Pokemon Black ROM hack, replicates the story of the story. So it's more of like an experience if you play the ROM hack, but it's so scripted, and at the end, there's really no meaning to it. Because, the original story is sort of creepy because, yeah, oh wow, whoa, some game that isn't how it's supposed to be. But if you play the actual thing, it's not exactly scary. It's just kind of weird because there is a set storyline in the game that you're going to get to, and especially if you've already read it, if you already know it, it's not that weird or creepy. It would be creepy if by chance you did happen to find some sort of cartridge out in the wild that was weird and different than it should be. It'd be creepy if this happened to you. But if you're reading the story, it's not that bad. Or it's not weird or scary or creepy. So Pokemon Black, I'd say that's about 4 out of 10 for me. Pokemon Lost Silver is one that's in the same vein, and this one can be a little creepier. Now, what makes these creepy are when somebody is reading it and telling you the story of it in some YouTube video with creepy music. Wait a minute. The premise of this one is that the storyteller finds a copy of Silver version, plays through it, and it's weird and creepy, even more so than Creepy Black, because in Creepy Black, it's pretty much the same except for the fact that there's a ghost. This one is completely different. The player starts off in what appears to be Sprout Tower, and his party is made up of 5 unknown that spell leave, as well as a Cyndaquil nicknamed Hurry, telling you to leave, hurry. Throughout the course of the story, and again through the playthrough, because there exists a ROM hack of this game based off of this story, the player's party will change. Eventually, he'll end up with half of a shiny Celebi, which is one of my favorite parts of this. He'll also end up with different unknowns spelling different things. Things like he died, or he's dead, or this and that. I forget exactly what they spell out. Again, you can read these online if you choose to. And like I said, it can be weird because there are some weird visuals with the sprite art attached to the gameplay of the game. Progressively throughout the story, he checks his trainer card and the player character does get weirder and creepier. He loses limbs, he becomes a ghost, gets those trademark bloody eyes from Creepypasta. It's standard stuff. However, the point is, throughout the game, it's basically just a story. It's one of those unnecessarily creepy stories and doesn't really have anything scary. Now, there are, actual things in horror that can scare you properly. If you're freaked out by like creepy visuals or implications of creepy things, then yeah, this can do it for you, which, like I said, definitely, it used to freak me out, and the visuals still do kind of freak me out to this day. Again, if you did happen to find some sort of cartridge like this actually in the wild and play through it, then yes, it would be creepy, it would be freaky. However, we're the ones reading the story of this supposedly happening to someone else. And so for the same reason, I'd kind of give it more of like 5 out of 10 or so. I don't find any of these too good or weird or scary. There are other Pokemon creepypastas out there that could potentially even be weirder or scary, freakier, or better. But again, personally, I like stuff that kind of doesn't try to convince you that it's fake and is just like a fun little fan fiction, basically, just like Hypnose Lullaby. Anyway, if you've read these creepypastas, let me know what you think. If there are any that you think I should check out, let me know. And if by chance you think it's a good idea to read through some of these in a live stream, we got like 1 day until Halloween, so that could potentially be a possibility. If you enjoyed the content, leave a like to show your support, subscribe, all of that cool stuff. You can enable notifications by clicking the bell icon next to the subscribe button. This will make sure you see each new video as it comes out, and will make you a member of the Chingling Squad. Anyway, this has been Gatorax. Have a nice day.